Hello and welcome to this week's New It 2. This is Kaylin here again. We're letting Jan rest after getting off the boat. She'll be back in store on Wednesday. So you've got Kaylin and Ashley again today coming to you from Oklahoma City. This week, we want to talk to you guys about one of the biggest new features that came out on the Radiance, and that is the Sure Stitch Regulation, otherwise known as stitch regulation, right? Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, stitch regulation is a system, there's all kinds of versions of it, but a system by which the speed that you move the fabric for free motion quilting, so quilting together your quilt sandwich with your batting and your backing, moves at the rate, the rate that you move the fabric changes the speed of the needle instead of your foot pedal changing the speed of the needle. The reason that this is useful, or the rate the machine is moving, if it's a long arm on a frame. The reason this is useful is if I go nice and slow and then all of a sudden I get real confident, so I go faster, and I'm going to have shorter stitches when I'm moving slowly, and I'm going to have long stitches when I move quickly. And what we really want in quilting is nice, even stitches. And so some ingenious engineers have come up with several different methods by which you can oscillate your stitching based on the fabric's movement relative to the needle, rather than simply how hard you're pressing on a foot pedal or even what your speed control is set to. So for a long time, the only way that we were able to get stitch regulating over here was to go to our long arm frames. And so those utilized wheels on the tracks to tell the machine how fast it was moving to change the stitch speed. Then we also got it on machines built into tables that were still long arm machines, still straight stitch only, no feed dog machines. And they did that by having sensors built into the table that would tell it how fast the fabric was moving. So what we want is to be able to do nicely regulated, even stitching, free motion style on any machine, right? And we have on the Radiance over 14 inches of throat space, which basically makes this a mid-arm free motion machine, if you think of it. And so we want to be able to take advantage of that to the fullest extent. And the way we're able to do that is by adding stitch regulation to it, which this machine now has. Now, the way that it works is if you look here, if you get closer in, what we have is our Sure Stitch Regulation foot. Okay, and that's going to be this unit right here, and it plugs into the back of my machine in much the same way that my digital dual feed does, and on some of our older models, the way that our embroidery foot used to plug in to power the laser. Got it. So what we have when we plug this in is a couple of different things. We have the sole plate right here. Oh, and you've got our rainbow going. It's funny, you can't see the rainbow in real life, but anytime you film it, it gives this oscillating rainbow effect. It's a little bit trippy. But we have the sole plate and we have a projected field. Okay, now in the projected field, if you can see there's a black kind of line. And there is right here, again, it's hard to see with our psychedelic rainbow effect here.
I wonder if we had some solid fabric that we could stick under there, it might be able to see a little better.
I happen to have a quilt sandwich ready to go here.
There we go. Oh, there we go. Yes.
Okay, so that's much better. So we have a red dot here, and we have look, on my hand it's still rainbow. We have this black line. Now, so the first thing I want to talk about a little bit is the sole plate itself.
Okay.
Your machine comes with 3 sole plates. The one we have on here right now is just the standard sole plate. If you look, it has the opening for the full needle plate opening. But we also have, let me reach over you here, an Echo quilting foot, which has my nice red lines that I can use to follow for Echo quilting. And we have an open toe quilting foot if I need my open toe. Now, it's super simple to replace these. There is a lever on the back edge of the foot here that I push forward, and it just pops that right out. And then I can input any of these 3 sole plates, or feet here. I want my regular foot, so I'm just gonna pop that back in. We just do that by just pressing it back into place. You hear a little click when it's fully engaged.
I don't know if you noticed whenever you popped it out, because they've designed this so well. that opening in the middle keeps it from hitting your needle whenever you pop it out.
Oh, does it really? How funny.
Yeah.
And then one of my trays that comes in my little jewel case, which we have hiding to the right over here, is actually designed for these sole plates to fit into.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. And so you just pop them in there. It has, this one is for our Echo quilting. And I don't know about you, but I bet they're going to come out with something else at some point because we've got an empty spot there. So I can just keep those together. Now, once I have this on here and with the sole plate I want, let's return to our projected field. So what this is telling me is two different things. This line is the point beyond which there needs to be fabric. If I come all the way down to here where there's no fabric, it cannot read it. Now, of course, you may also notice I moved it far enough that there's also no fabric under the needle. But let's say I was right on the edge there. It's not going to be able to read it because it needs something right there to read the fabric's movement. Now, this is part of why it's important to have a quilt sandwich where the batting and the backing extend beyond the quilt top. Now, for a sample or a practice piece like this, not super worried about it. But if I'm doing a real quilt top, I do want to make sure that I have extended pieces to make sure that I can get all the way to the edge of my quilt without losing
your sensor.
My sensor right there.
Got it.
Now, the red is also going to be, think of it red light, green light.
Got it.
It's if it's ready to stitch or it's not ready to stitch. There's a number of things that can cause it not to be ready to stitch. Easiest one is your presser foot is lifted. But if you notice, even when I lower my presser foot, it's still red. So come on over here to my screen. What you automatically have whenever you plug in your free motion, or I'm sorry, your stitch regulator foot, your sure stitch regulator, is this screen right here when you're in sewing mode. I can go home and that foot is in there, but if you notice, if you come back over here, the projector went away completely. So I go to sewing when I first turn on my machine, and it's going to let me know I can start free motion quilting or basting with the stitch regulator. It knows it's in there. It says be careful not to pull the fabric tightly, causing it to break the needle. I could yank my fabric so hard while the needle's in there that I could break the needle. So it's just giving you a nice little safety warning there. When I say okay, the page is automatically going to change over to my free motion quilting. And even though I've got my fabric under there, I have got my presser foot down, still have my red button because I have to tell it what mode I want to stitch in. So you see here is I've got 3 steps. Select a mode, select a stitch, and then please start sewing. I like that it's so courteous. And then start sewing, right? Yep. Okay, so I've got 3 modes. So the first mode here is intermittent mode. So that's also known in the quilting world as precision mode. So intermittent mode is that the needle is only moving if the fabric is moving. If I stop my fabric, the needle stops.
Got it.
I mean, that's it. That's all there is to it, right? And then it moves as fast as my fabric moves, as long as you don't move it faster than what the stitch regulator can keep up with, which you'd have to be moving it pretty fast for that. Mode 2 is continuous mode. In free motion quilting, this is also known as cruise. Continuous mode is that even when the presser foot, or I'm sorry, when the fabric is not moving, the needle will continue to slowly move up and down at a fixed rate. Why is this useful? Wouldn't you just want it to move if you're moving, stop if you stop? If you do a lot of points in your quilting, and that can be anything from, you know, just doing a square around your block to doing feathers where you come to that point at the end of each feather. You don't want what's called eyelashing, which is where your thread pulls in the back and looks kind of like eyelashes going from the stitches. The way to avoid eyelashing on a point is to let it stitch in place a couple of times to lock in the stitch at the point. Then it's going to have a better time smoothly traveling from that point. By having it in continuous mode, I can simply pause, like stop my motion when I'm quilting, let it continue to stitch a few times, and then keep going. So adept quilters will learn with something like continuous mode that they can get really crisp, clean points without that eyelashing.
Got it.
The third mode
is a basting stitch.
Is a basting mode. it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a
Mhm.
long stitch. If you want to baste the edge of your quilt this
Mhm.
way, you can. It's what it's for. Now, in continuous mode and in intermittent mode, you may notice I have both a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch.
Mhm.
You can do, and this is something that is quite unique compared to any true long arms on frames or on tables, which are
Mhm.
straight stitch only. I can free motion with a zigzag.
Super fun.
I have yet to really play with that to see the full like creative extent possibilities with that.
Mhm.
But that's part of why we need to have that full needle plate opening in all of our feet. These are not single hole openings in our feet.
Got it.
But in basting mode, you only have a straight stitch.
Makes sense.
You're not going to baste in a zigzag.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's logical, but just so that you know, that's going to be one of the differences there.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing we have, and this is going to be true of all of them, is right here, the presser foot height.
Got it.
Okay, that's literally going to be the height of the presser foot when it's down. To help know how thick or thin something is going through, you need to have it at the right height.
Mhm.
So this is adjustable right here. You don't need to go into your settings to change it like you do for other things. It's
Mhm.
just right here. 1.5 is the standard. I know that because my little black box is around it.
Mhm.
And one thing you can do is you can kind of feel like, okay, am I getting a lot of drag? Is that going to be a problem? And you can raise it up if you need to until whatever quilt sandwich you're using has the right amount of, you can raise and lower it, see where it's at, the right amount of pull, the right amount of structure on top of it.
Yeah, if you're using a really high loft batting one time and then something flatter
Exactly.
next time.
This is not something where there is an automatic must-use setting because you might be doing a thicker batting, like you say, a thicker
Mhm.
quilt. Heaven help you if you're quilting with Minky as your backing, so that adds extra thickness. I've
Yes.
seen people do it, and it makes a very cuddly quilt, but I don't have the bravery for it yet. You can alter that. So I'm not going to tell you that there's an automatic setting. What I will tell you is it's the highest it's going to go is 4 millimeters, and that's going to be the height from the needle plate underneath the quilt to where that presser foot is. So if you're doing something that is somehow thicker than that, you know, you might need to think of think about your life choices, I think.
Yeah,
So
I'd be impressed too.
I would be impressed, but you do have a range on that, and you can go lower than 1.5 if you're working on something that is particularly thin and you don't want to have any play in the material that you're free motioning on.
Got it.
Okay, so that's going to be the basics of how this is going to get set up. Now, one other thing I like to use whenever I'm quilting is something to help me grip my free motion material that I'm actually moving around. Because while I can on something small like this little sample quilt sandwich, I can grip the edges and move it around. If I'm doing an entire quilt, I frequently cannot reach the edges to help it heft around a quilt. So what I want to show you guys today is the Quilter Select AccuGrip quilting gloves. These are one size fits all, which is great because they're just Velcro on the back. And the way these are going to work is that I am going to...
You've got a right and a left.
Yeah, sorry. I have to read correctly. And I'm going to wrap these around my wrist, and I have little wrists, I apologize. And put my middle finger through this little strap and then use the Velcro around my wrist. I'm going to do it with both of them. Perfect. Yes, they are actually labeled left and right. That's hilarious. Okay, so, and I've got rings on my left middle finger, but that's okay. You might need to take your rings off for this, ladies, but if not, that's okay too.
You gotta wear a jewelry.
I'm going to tighten this one. That's right. We got to represent. Okay. So what I have then is grippy dots. Can you see them? That are going to help me, and I'm going to actually have you scooch a little so that I can scooch to where I can actually look at what I'm doing.
You want to be able to get in front of the machine?
So now this is going to grip my fabric and give me the what's the word? The grip, I guess,
The grip,
that I need, right?
Your hands aren't going to get sore from trying to grab it all the time.
Right. So, and your palms will get a little sweaty, but it's pretty breathable fabric.
Nice.
Okay. So what we're going to do then, and of course you can also add your extension table here to hold up your quilts a lot. We just don't happen to have one on this machine at the moment. But what I'm going to do here, now you could just go and have fun and do whatever you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do needle down, needle up, and I'm going to pull my bobbin to the front here.
Perfect.
Okay, because if you're like a very fancy quilter, then you want to start where you can pull your tails through. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, because I'm short enough that my feet can't reach the foot pedal while I am at this machine up on this tall cabinet.
Excuse me.
But luckily with stitch regulation, I really don't need to, because right now my speed control right here, it doesn't mean anything.
It's
It's going to be me and how I move the fabric. And so just to recap, stitch regulator's plugged in. I know that because it's showing up on the screen. I'm in mode 1. I went ahead and did a 2.5 millimeter height here. Now I can always adjust that as I go. You're not locked in once you're, once you start, you can always change it. And I'm on a straight stitch. Whoop. There we go.
You got all those settings down at the bottom too. What are those?
Okay, so my width is nothing because it's a straight stitch. My length is 2.5, so you can change the target stitch length if you want.
So rather than having like a stitches per inch, you would
do it in standard stitch length. That's right.
Makes sense.
Left right shift is just the position in the left right swing of the needle. 3.5 is the center. And then my tension, I just have it on a standard 4.0.
Perfect.
Okay. And again, that's something that you might need to play with depending on the quilt that you're using and the thread that you're using.
Our light's green now.
You may also be able to tell our light is now green. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, and you'll have to forgive my like impromptu free motion skills. Okay, I hit start. Guess what? Nothing happened until I start moving, right? I can hit stop. Needle will stay down. I could trim my tails if I want. I went back and forth on them a little just to tie them off for myself. If you're a more precise quilter, you've got lots of other options on how you can handle those tails. But I'm going to hit start again. And I'm just going to start moving. And here's the thing is, like, you'll start to think, oh gosh, it's not working right. Is it me? It's not. Well, it is you actually, because I have found I'm so tentative with it whenever I first start that I won't move fast enough, and it'll just be sitting there. I'll be like, why isn't it working? I'm like, oh, right. It's because I'm not moving.
Yep. I did the same thing the first time I tried to use it. I was like waiting for it to catch up with me.
I've actually had people call and be like, my machine is not working. I hit start and nothing happened. I'm like, did you also move the fabric when you were? And it's like, oh, no.
And it's nice that they have the start button start flashing once you've pressed start.
And so then you just start sewing, right? And you can quilt however you want, as big or small or whatever as you want. And that's going to give you free motion regulated stitching. So this is a really exciting thing that they have added. Of course, I need so many more hours of practice to get good at smooth shapes, but that's its own kind of beast to deal with. But we're super excited that they added this to this machine. I think it's a whole new era for us of the domestic sit-down machines being able to do our free motion quilting. So with that, of course, we have to do a giveaway. And I want to help somebody out with their free motion quilting, because these were a game changer for me on doing my sit-down free motion quilting. Very different from a long arm on a frame. I want to give somebody some of these gloves. They are one size fits all because of that nice handy dandy Velcro. And so the way you can win these, if you recall, is to like, share or comment on this video by Thursday at 5, and one lucky winner will go home with a set of these gloves. These are a game changer, like I say, for your free motion quilting. So they can really, really help you become more confident in the movements that you make whenever you free motion. So especially when you have a machine like this that will take care of the actual stitch regulation for you and do that part.
Absolutely.
So
if you're somebody that wants, here we go, turn my mic back on so you guys can actually hear me.
Oh yeah.
If you're somebody that wants gloves that cover your fingers or just the fingertips are grippy, we do have those in store as well. So those are options that exist as well.
Very good. Yeah. For me, I like the palm grippies.
Yeah, I like my fingers free.
Yeah. If you're not one of the lucky winners, we still want you to be able to get some fun out of watching this video other than just the wonderful learning opportunities.
And seeing our faces.
And seeing our beautiful faces. And so these are by Quilter Select. And so what we're going to do is Quilter Select accessories thread, stabilizer, and batting is going to be 25% off.
Nice.
And Baby Lock extension tables that are in stock. So the Baby Lock ones, not the So Steady ones, but Baby Lock extension tables, like what you can add to this machine to give you even more great space for quilting, are also going to be 25% off. Before I let you go, of course, we have to let you know what good things are going on in the store. So if you want to come around here, I'll put my flyers here instead of letting them float up and down. A few of our stores have already had their club for April, but we do have more coming up next week. So check on our website for the dates for your nearest Be So In to come to Emerald Club. It is so much fun. This month, we're doing projects that are themed on what you need for camping and cookouts. So they're a ton of fun. Our ruler work event is only a few weeks away. There are still a handful of spots available in some of our locations in Humble, Tulsa, and Fayetteville. Oklahoma City is full, but we would love to have you visit any of our other locations hosting this great event. This is going to do some free motion sewing, but in a different kind of way. This is actually going to explore ruler work. If you're not familiar with that, it's a really fun way to actually help you be as precise as possible with your quilting shapes.
Cool.
And then this month, we also have Artful Embroidery coming up at our Charlotte location. Well, not our location, but at the Charlotte location for Artful, which is actually the home of Steven Wilson. So we're going to actually invade his space to come and make some fun stuff. There's still a handful of seats left there as well. April 25th and 26th is that event. It's going to be a ton of fun. You're going to make this beautiful heart made out of flowers and butterflies. It goes in this awesome clear case for really unique embroidery compared to anything you've probably ever done before. So I highly recommend it. And of course, you can always go to besewing.com to see all the other great things we have coming, all the different things that you can get to improve your creative experience in your own home and with us. And I hope you've learned a little bit today about some of the things you can do on the new Radiance. And we look forward to seeing you next time on New It Too.
See you then.
Bye.